Hello everybody, I'm Mike the Man and welcome to my channel. So in my last video I had a cover picture, and just to make sure I eliminate any type of confusion, the picture was from Grog, and the video of Sebastian Rogers allegedly riding a bike and Chris Proudfoot allegedly cheering him on and teaching him how to ride a bike. I ran it through Grok and just asked, is this video AI generated or real? Because it seemed a little bit strange to me how there was this very fast turn and the timing was off, and there was not really a connection between the face wasn't focused. It was a really strange type of video, where also I need to remind everybody, Chris always talked about he was a very careful child. He only swam in the pool. He was not. This guy on the vid we see in the video, he almost hit the curb. He goes really fast, and it just seemed very, very unnatural, and not somebody who they described Sebastian as being, especially Chris Proudfoot. And according to Grok, the video has been altered. So there have been a lot of questions about, what about the voice? Was that actually a voiceover done later to make it seem like Chris Proudfoot is cheering him on? So that's what I posted up there, and somebody misunderstood me and thought that I was telling them my video is AI generated. It is of course not. This is something I needed to clear up, and at the same time I needed to get out there. And what I want to get out there is, don't believe anything that comes from Team Proudfoot. Nothing. Don't believe their PI's tape having any significance in the case. As police said, it does not. It has no significance. And Chris Proudfoot told us we went from possibly having not having a sighting to possibly having a sighting. The possibilities are what they want. They want to put out any type of possibility, anything that you can waste your time looking at, other than looking at them, because that would not be a waste of time. So they are encouraging you to look at whatever it might be. And the one thing that statement analysis teaches us is that we do not let ourselves get sidetracked by something other than statements unless it is proven to be evidence. So a few things I wanted to clear up as well, a few other things, such as, did Katie actually put up flyers? And she didn't tell us that. At one point she said, we hung up flyers, we. But who is we? Is it we the Sebastian supporters, or we the concerned people, or is it we Team Proudfoot, or we humans? She never said, I hung up flyers. She never stated such a thing. I don't know how to describe what it feels like to at first she says, I don't know how to describe what it feels like to watch the news, and then she says to go hang flyers. And her pattern has been, when she says something twice, there's about to be something that's important for her to say. she is building up to a crescendo. When she says her pattern has been she switches to script, and the script is fresh in her head. So so people, a lot of you have said to me the whole thing was scripted. Well, yes and no. The concept behind the interviews was that it was all one big script. Yes, maybe. But things get in the way. Life gets in the way. When she is on stage, she needs to also act like she's sad, and she needs to have a certain look on her face when the interviewer says, "You think he's coming home, right?" And she's taking long breaks, just looking at them. And Chris seems pretty uncomfortable, just nodding. And you see, no matter how scripted you are, unless you are left alone and have everything perfect, your makeup is perfect, everything, the lighting is perfect, you have the script on a teleprompter, okay, then maybe it's a lot easier to do that. But she needs to do it from memory. And she needs to also be able to react to others. She doesn't want people to think she is simply reading a script from her mind. So she will give herself away again and again. Some people don't even know about it. That was what she discovered. That was the crazy thing when she puts up flyers, to find out that some people don't even know about it. Who doesn't know about what? And what is it exactly? Later, Chris Proudfoot will say something very similar. It's pure hell. That's when he takes over, right after Katie said just. And just is probably, I would assume, a safe word. Because so far I've counted 3 times when Katie said just. And almost immediately Chris takes over. That's a clue for him that she is stuck, because this lady is that they have picked to conduct the interview at WSMV. She is on their side. And I'm not sure what she even looked into, if she looked into anything. She may just have this conviction or this desire to help, and doesn't want to assume anything about anybody. Doesn't want to feel like she's living in a world where people can do something bad to their own child. Which, by the way, is still strange, because she should have gotten already the type of... Well, she should have heard at least about Chris's abuse and how severe it was. And if any of you know her, send her the interview given by Seth, the stream by Seth, with Tony Mattis and Jennifer Kaffendaffer. Send that to her. Anybody who thinks there's somebody out there that you have access to, who simply doesn't want to hear about somebody doing something bad to their child, unfortunately, we are living in a reality where that is not only possible, but it happens all of the time. So what maybe can be done while she is giving compassion to the wrong people, to send her a video of the right person. And now that I'm saying that, as soon as I'm done here, I will see if she has a sort of social media outlet, which she should have, right? I mean, don't journalists normally do? And send her the video of Seth, what he's really talking about. And having Jennifer Kaffendaffer on there, who's retired FBI. in case somebody can, because the thing is that people often explain things away so they don't have to change their mind about somebody else. Okay, that's a disgruntled father and his friend on there, and they are just, people make basically excuses for why they don't want to change their mind about something. And that's obviously the problem with opinions. And the beautiful thing about statement analysis, you're not really allowed to have opinions. Yes, I state it within a disclaimer, this is only my opinion, but actually it is my thought. It's just something that I say because, well, I guess I'm copying it from other people, but everything that you see in my videos are my thoughts, and only my thoughts. And if you want to label them as opinions, so be it, but they are my thoughts. Not just opinions, because opinions can be baseless, and I am doing this channel to explain how I have formed these opinions. And it's a lot easier doing it in talking than in writing. So then Katie later says, I want to encourage people to keep helping, not only, and then something about something in between. That's what the dots are for. Not only to our son, but to all of the missing children, because, and when she says they all deserve to go home. They all deserve to go home. Have you noticed how her speech speeds up? That is something that she couldn't wait to say. That's her line. They all deserve to go home. Going home. Coming home. And again, Seth said, under no circumstances over his dead body would Sebastian ever go back to that home if he was found. Because he apparently didn't know how bad things really were. I mean, sure, you can say he could have assumed, because Chris supposedly, he knew that Chris would throw away, bag up Sebastian's toys, take him away from him and throw them in the garbage if he didn't clean his room properly. So yeah, there are people obviously who will say, okay, now that's it, this is abuse, and if he's doing that, then who knows what else he is doing. But there are others who kind of leave it at that and say, okay, if my son can always come to me, always talk to me, and why didn't Sebastian tell him the whole story? Maybe he didn't want to worry his father. Maybe he was so happy to be in his father's house that he did not want to disturb him with these kind of news and worry him more than he thinks his father should be worried. That can also be the case. Maybe he just was the kind of person who sort of lives in a moment and said, okay, things are good now, and forgets about the bad until the bad comes back. And it's also hard for children who are living in very abusive households to really get a grasp of what's really happening to them, because they know they don't deserve it. Is this really happening? This can't be happening. They don't know how to necessarily verbalize how they are speechless themselves about the abuse they're experiencing, because they don't have any reference points. They just know this is the only house they're living in on a permanent basis, though they get a break every other weekend being with the father, Seth. But it's also sort of like the frog in the boiling water, the frog in the water that is that's a thing that people talk about or compare, a figure of speech that people compare certain situations to. It's like the frog is in the water, you turn on the heat, and little by little it gets hotter until it's too late, and the water is boiling and the frog will die, because you kind of don't realize necessarily when there is the point where things get really, really bad, because they become worse and worse and worse, gradually, little by little. And that could also be the case that a child like Sebastian only realizes from time to time things are getting worse. His stepdad acting the way he is acting towards him gets worse and worse and worse, and then it becomes almost a normal situation where his concern is how to understand what should I do that I don't get physically punished. And it seems to me Sebastian learned how to verbalize and seek help. And how many pages were there? Something like 50 pages. So little by little, Sebastian was waking up to what was going on in the house. And I'm pretty sure that by now, had he not gone missing, he would have probably been able to verbalize to Seth what was really going on. But again, he wanted to have a fun weekend with his dad, who said his only life is really work, other than the 2 days that he had a son. And in these 2 days, every other weekend, he made the money, and so his son can do, that he's able to do with his son whatever his son wants to do. So his son was probably living for the weekend, for the every other weekend, so to speak. The rest being pure hell, which Chris Proudfoot now says that's what he's going through. It's pure hell. He doesn't say what it is. The fact that Sebastian is missing? No, he's not saying that. I don't remember him saying that at any time, even when being asked about what he's going through. No, it's about what he is going through. And it has been identified in previous interviews where he talked about the fact that people think he has something to do with it, the fact that people are hating on him or there's negativity, and there is no negativity. Maybe some people, I don't know, but reality is not a negative, in my opinion. I rather have, the bitter truth right now, right here and there, personally, and then sort of learn how to handle it, and then accept it and deal with it. But then at least it's over, and you know reality, and you can draw consequences from that, and you can get rid of certain people in your life, and so on and so on. It's better than just sweet little lies that contradict each other and drawing things out. I mean, that is just my point of view. But he talked about this being like Groundhog Day, and he, unlike Bill Murray in the movie, who finally figured out what to do, he cannot figure out what to do. Because Sebastian is not coming back. There won't be an end to this scenario for him. He cannot imagine how this will ever end, or it ever ending, because Sebastian will not be found. He's not going to walk through the door and they're going to say, oh, okay, here you go. Oh, sorry, Chris, we were so wrong about you. And well, that can of course never happen, because he already put his proud foot in the mouth, where he talked about how much he beat him, how he whacked him. And yes, the simple man's manifesto. That will stand out there forever. And Chris will have to deal with it forever. And as I've said before, people forgive a lot of crimes, especially after you've done your time. You robbed a bank. Yeah, the people who were there waiting in the bank for their service and were scared crapless when you drew your gun and whatever else, they may be traumatized and not forget it and not think you should ever be forgiven. Some people, but the average population is, from what I have seen, more or less like, okay, well, let's just move on. He's done the time. and the bank has a lot. I mean, whatever people, it's very different when people really get hurt, and you get to know these people who gotten hurt, and more than anything, when the person who got hurt is a child. So Chris Proudfoot is already guilty in the eye of the public. He's guilty in my eyes, because if you attack a stranger and whoop him with the belt, you will do some time. That is assault. So what makes it okay to do that to a 15-year-old because he's living in your house and the mama says it's okay? Suddenly he's your property and you can beat him senseless and throw his stuff away. And just, that is one of the worst things, by the way, that I remember when I was a child, when something was taken away from me. And that's not recoverable. That's pretty bad. So that was not just the physical scars, but the emotional scars that he left on his stepson, whom Katie now includes in "we love you," or we love him so much. That's nice try. At the end of the day, it's not about me. Great, Katie. I'm bringing this back because I want to make sure certain things are not being overlooked here. At the end of the day, it's not about me. Wow, how selfless of you. Really? It's not about you? And why, at the end of the day, did experiential memory suddenly kick in where you realize what happened at the end of that particular day? Because it wasn't after midnight. It was 10 p.m. that you heard the thud and asked, did you fall out of bed? Hey Baba, did you fall out of bed? Which you left out in another interview where you talked about yelling at him and telling him you need to go to bed, or I don't care what you're doing in there. Very different story where she also told us she knew he was up because there was a noise at 10 p.m. or she heard a sound at 10 p.m. Really, what was up before? How do you know that? Do you know what he was doing between 9 and 10 because at 10 you heard a sound? Or is that what you want us to believe? That there was a consistent playing, or whatever you may want us to believe. A consistent level of staying up, not sleeping. You're leaving something out here, Katie. You're telling us that he wasn't sleeping because there was some noise that you heard, and it became it was no longer a thud. Twice you told us there was a thud, and suddenly you no longer wanted us to think along those lines. That is what they don't say. What they don't say and what they leave out is extremely important in statement analysis. When they skip over something, when they leave out something that leaves a disconnect, then you need to ask what really happened. When somebody says, for example, the next thing I knew, no. When people say that, they want to speed up, they want to jump over something, they want to jump over an event and lead you, the listener, straight to what the next thing is they can tell you without fearing exposure. Don't worry about what happened here. Now move right, fast forward, don't look at anything. This is what I want you to look at. Forget everything else, okay? Just because I say so. There are so many examples. I will do a little bit more general stuff in the future, simply because I think it's important to get an idea how statement analysis operates and how we need to proceed, and the many red flags that we have to look at. So she said, it's not about me. Wow, that's so good. But only at the end of the day, right? At the end of the day. That's not about her. Interesting. It's about, so what should it be about? If it's not about her, it would be about Sebastian, right? Very simple. It's not about me, it's about Sebastian. It's about finding my son. She doesn't say that. It's about the fact that Sebastian is out there. Where else would he be? Out there. And now listen to this. That we are looking for him. We. She's including herself in the search she was never a part of. So while she said it's not about me, it is about we. And who is we? It doesn't include Sebastian, because we, she wants to tell you, her and her husband are looking for him, which they are not. She didn't tell you she hung up flyers even. And according to some people who usually give me good information, they have concluded that she never has. Which I'm just throwing out there. Has she ever actually put up flyers? Has she ever been seen doing anything? She was seen speeding by the school that morning without stopping. Really fast, not looking, not stopping and looking. Nobody heard her yell Sebastian's name. As she told us she was hollering and yelling and blah and blah. Chris had to cough to stop her, because even he realized she was overdoing this. And it became even more obvious that she's trying to cover something. She's trying too hard to convince. We are looking for him. You see, she's telling you, she realizes, she makes it about herself and her husband. Everything has been, especially from Chris. She is a little bit better at not being so blatant, but when it comes to Chris, he's just straight up all about him, how he feels. So she is the script writer, and she probably prepared this part to say it's not about me. It's about the fact that Sebastian is out there and that we are looking for him. That's what she's telling you. It's not about Sebastian. It's from me to we, and telling everybody who's listening that she's looking for her son, which she isn't. Because I know he's out there, where else would he be? She says, a lot of times. And overacting has become a part of her speech. Chris tells us it's pure hell. How it actually feels. Yeah. People being negative towards you, right? That's what you're experiencing, and you don't like it. So Katie keeps telling us to remember him. I don't think she says remember Sebastian. Those are not the times when she mentions his name. She says remember him. And what does it remind you of? It reminds you of an obituary, right? Or the anniversary of somebody's departing. Somebody saying, please, don't forget. It's like a final goodbye.